What is going on? Thank you for joining me for this reaction slash review. Today is You Were Tricked into Loving One Power Ranger. Growing up, I was a Power Ranger fan. My favorite character was Jason the Red Ranger. In 95, when the movie came out, I went to the theaters to see it. I'm going to watch this video. During the video, I'm going to give my commentary. Some of it is going to be general. Some of it will be from a writing point of view. I'm excited to see what we're in for. Let's go!
As a kid, did you ever get hooked on one movie that you couldn't stop watching for a month or even maybe a year? For me, it was Mighty Ducks 2. But recently, my kids locked on to this epic movie. And with dozens upon dozens of showings in the last few months, I have come to really soak it in and start seeing some things I've never thought about before with Power Rangers, the movie. Honestly, I think we were all brainwashed by Saban to love one specific character. And with my eyes finally open, finally realized it's time. When the movie came out in 1995, it was well into its Tommy show era. A lot of franchise fans make this reference. At this point in 1994, 1995, the episodes were very, very heavily focused on Tommy. And with three new Rangers, Adam, Rocky, and Aisha, they honestly didn't have a lot of personality. Steve Cardenas, who played Rocky, has made the comment many times saying that during Mighty Morphin, Rocky was really just a placeholder for Jason and really didn't get to be his own person until Zeo came along. And that is the actor's own words. Tommy was the center point of the show, and nothing proves this more than the 1995 movie. But the key is not to focus on what Tommy is doing, but more what the other characters are not doing. Like Adam, who I realized rarely speaks. And this made me wonder, how many lines does each character actually get? Tried entering this into some AI programs, ChatGPT, and the only way you could do that is if someone actually sat down and tallied up every single line that these people had in the movie.
What psychopath?
I believe that.
Tried my hardest. I think I'm pretty close. I'm definitely not off by like 30 lines for a character or anything drastic like that. But let's get to the results. In this movie,
let's do it.
Roughly, Aisha has 57 lines. Rocky and Adam both have 58. Kimberly at 61.
Tied.
Billy at 63. And Tommy is at 109. Almost double what each one of the other characters had. Quite clearly, Tommy has a majority of the dialogue for a Ranger. But even Tommy's 109-ish lines seems very low to me for a blockbuster movie. Ivan Ooze has a lot more lines, and he has very large paragraphs of dialogue. Just when he talks for extremely long periods of time compared to the Rangers, who have maybe one or two sentences at a time, which really shows you why this movie and Ivan Ooze is so iconic, because they really put the bulk of the acting upon him.
I'm going to assume he had the most lines because of his experience. He was in, I believe, Indiana Jones, so he had that going for him.
But after adding up the Rangers' lines, I wondered, are all lines created equal? I broke down the lines into three different sections: plot-driven, throwaway, and fight scenes. Plot-driven, of course, is a line that's actually important to the story. They're saying something that has some sort of explanation. Throwaway was something that I classified as like they're rollerblading and someone says it doesn't have anything to do with the actual plot line. You could have it in the script, you could take it out, it wouldn't really make a difference in the story. And then the third classification I had was fight scenes. They're kind of like throwaway. It doesn't really affect the plot. Just a few catchphrases like, "What is this? Is it gonna frog me?" But surprisingly, the fight scenes take up 51% of the Rangers' dialogue.
I'm guessing here, but the producers, the writer, the director, they probably thought something along the lines of Power Rangers is a kid's property. Kids just want to see the action. The suits matter more than the faces underneath them. Just do enough to get from point A to point B so that we can get some action. Again, I'm just throwing out possibilities.
And that's not including stock grunting or yelling or anything they use to fill time. And of course, Tommy has the most lines in fight scenes, coming up to 50, but that's only 46% of his dialogue. For Adam, the fight scenes make up 64% of his dialogue with 37 lines in fight scenes. 25% of the Rangers' dialogue is made up of throwaway lines. Now, this is the only category that's pretty even across the board. They all have between 15 and 20 throwaway lines each character. But adding up the fight scenes and the throwaway lines, it means that 70% of what the Rangers are saying in this movie isn't really that important, besides Tommy, of course. Looking at the plot lines is a lot more telling of these characters. Only 24% of the Rangers' lines are plot-driven. Tommy has 39 lines. That makes 36% of his dialogue being important to the story. Kimberly is the next up with 20 lines, which is only 25% of her dialogue. Everyone else is down from there, ending with Adam, who only has 6 lines that are important to the plot. And actually, I kind of stretched that. It's actually only 4, because I included...
I'm a frog. Welcome to Jurassic
I'm a frog.
Park.
Memorable lines for him. He had a lot of actual, iconic lines, even though he didn't speak much. But those actually don't actually have anything to do with the plot line, so I should change that. But even if you include those, that's only 6 lines, and that's 10% of what he says has anything to do with the storyline. It's kind of sad when you break it down like that.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Was this Johnny Young Bosch's first acting role? Same for Steve Cardenas and Karen Ashley. That's just something I'm wondering.
Now, if I'm losing you with the numbers and percentage, the main thing I realized is that Rangers only have 102 lines that matter, making up 24% of what they say actually helps the story. But Tommy is the one with the most important things to say, which is the first step to understanding how Saban brainwashed everybody into loving Tommy. When you look at all the parts of the movie, you start to realize Tommy always stands out. The first scene when they're skydiving, of course, Tommy has like a snowboard. And sure, he's Tommy, but besides just getting an extra prop, Fred only cheers for Tommy by name. And after they land, the whole team congratulates Tommy.
That was awesome, Tommy.
Collectively, like as if he did something more impressive than the rest of them. It's kind of strange, actually, when you look into it.
It's definitely a little strange. Storytelling wise, it doesn't make sense. I mean, they should be complimenting each other. I'm going to guess that Fred was the audience's avatar, specifically fans of the show, and Saban probably thought fans of the show were mainly fans of Tommy.
So we see some very blatant favoritism in the movie for Tommy, from props and then just people verbally talking to him. Tommy has so many occasions where he takes the lead. This isn't surprising. He is technically the leader of the team, so I don't put this as a bad thing.
Marvel's Wolverine. Wolverine is arguably the most popular character in the X-Men universe. He's definitely got to be a top 3 for Marvel. So why isn't Wolverine the leader of the X-Men? In the comics at least, Marvel knows that Wolverine shouldn't be the leader of the X-Men. He's the lone wolf, the rebel, he's got a coolness about him. Those are some of the traits that fans, especially some of the younger fans, that's what they find appealing about him. You don't make Wolverine the leader of the X-Men just because he's popular in real life. I'm referring to the 80s and 90s when Wolverine's popularity exploded. Tommy, mostly in season 1, is Wolverine. He's not leadership material, nor should he be. He was this cool, charismatic rival to Jason, who the Power Rangers called in for backup. He was the cavalry. He always made an entrance. There's more to Tommy, but those are just some of the elements that made him appealing.
But after you go past the small things like Tommy holding off Ivan Ooze's henchmen or being the first to walk up to the temple, Tommy always is the one to end the fight. The Ooze kids, he sends Saba up to release the thing to smash all of them. We have the Dino Skeleton fight. He stops it on his own. Everyone else either runs in fear or gets taken out. He does the final corkscrew kick to defeat the rock monster. Tommy saves the kids on the train track.
I heard when Tommy first left the show, there was like this big outcry. So that probably influenced some of the decision making.
When you look at how much Tommy gets to do, it's why doesn't Rocky get to save the kids or get to do one particular thing? But besides Tommy getting to shine through, getting to be the one to achieve everything, the other Rangers are pretty much hopeless without him on their own. Kimberly needs Tommy to rescue her several times throughout this movie. The Megazord can't stop Ivan Ooze until Tommy forms the full Megazord with the Falcon Zord. Then they kick his butt. The only thing in the movie where anyone else really gets to shine is once they get to outer space and Billy has the idea for Halley's Comet and Aisha is the one to press the button to hit Ivan Ooze right where it counts. What does this even matter to a traditional 90s fan? Tommy is the best, and that's all they care about. And I understand why people feel that way. I actually know exactly why people feel that way, because this was no longer a team of 6 Rangers. It was now Tommy and some other Rangers trying to keep up with him.
Where Saban messed up, well, that was a 1-2 punch. The first punch was the actors for Jason, Zach, and Trini getting fired. They were part of the core original group. They had their share of fans. They were beloved characters. They also had defined roles in the team. Jason was the leader, but he didn't have a lot of lines in the show. Zach was the dancer, the charmer, the funny guy. He was also second in command. Trini was level-headed, nurturing, peaceful. She brought balance to the group. Those 3 were replaced by Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. And like you said, they were placeholders. So Jason, Zach, and Trini, they're gone. That's the first punch. The second punch, Tommy's ascension. Tommy never should have became the leader of the team. When he did, it just further messed up team dynamics. In real life or in fiction, when a notable force or an organization with influence goes away, there's usually a power vacuum, and others try to fill it. With Jason, Zach, and Trini gone, there was a vacuum, there was a void. Tommy tried to fill that void. And it wasn't for the best.
As stated before, we have 3 very generic Rangers that came later in the series. Besides them not getting much of an opportunity to really be individuals, this also is actually depreciating the value of Kimberly and Billy. Let's look at a few situations. The first fight scene, when they morph, Ivan Ooze's henchmen hide to ambush them. As they walk through the construction site, Tommy tells Aisha and Rocky to do their special helmet modes to shine light and to scan the area. Now, why is Aisha and Rocky not thinking of this themselves? They have the tools, but they don't use them unless Tommy tells them to use them. It's strange, and it kind of makes them look a little incompetent. Like, why aren't they using all their resources?
I agree that it looked like Rocky and Aisha need to be told what to do, but I'm going to give a different point of view. In season 1, Jason would give strategic commands when the Power Rangers were fighting on the ground. He also did it when they had Megazord fights. If Jason, Zach, and Trini were in this movie in place of Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, I still think that Jason, not Tommy, would have given the line to Zach and Trini, assuming that Jason wouldn't have had the scanning device in his helmet. I think we notice it more because Rocky and Aisha don't have much to do in the movie. In real time, they were just introduced in season 2, so we didn't really know them like we knew Tommy, Kimberly, and Billy.
Or the dinosaur skeleton scene. Besides the fact that everybody's helpless and they can't stop it, but Tommy can, Tommy solves the problem, but not with brute force or his karate moves, but with intelligence. Which, hey, that's like Billy's role in the group. If Tommy had jumped on the back of this monster and then Billy yelled to him like, grab the scientific blah, 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 big long word bone, that'll take him out. Tommy pulls it out and it falls apart, and then it would have been a group effort. Billy would have contributed with what Billy does in the group, being the smart guy. You might think, well, who really cares? But the thing is that there are so many people who identify with Billy and they connect with Billy. And as they take those moments away from Billy so that Tommy can have those moments, people don't get to see their hero, Billy, being the hero they want him to be.
And it was established that Billy was the genius. He was the science guy. This moment, though, was more of a critical thinking moment. In season 1, it was established that the 6 Rangers, they excelled at school, so they had the critical thinking capacity. What I think would have happened was that Jason or Tommy, they would have been on the dinosaur. Zach, Billy, or Trini, they would have identified the weakness.
Again, once you're at the end of the movie where they save Zordon with these new powers, Tommy's the one who says, don't you guys remember? Like, with the great power, anything's possible. Not Billy. Billy's the smart guy, but no, Tommy's the one figuring everything out. The rock monster fight is another great example. You know, Kimberly is climbing up and gets pinned into a corner, and she tries to push the boulder but can't because she's so helpless. So Tommy has to save her, but he doesn't just, push the boulder. He figures out, he grabs a piece of wood and he uses it like a lever and he, shoves it off. There's an intelligence thing that Billy could have done, but also why isn't Kimberly giving the opportunity to, rise above or to figure these things out? They make her look like she's kind of incompetent as a ranger.
So let's assume Jason, Zach, and Trini were in this movie. I don't think Tommy would have been here with Kimberly. I think it would have been Trini. I think we would have had a cool girl power moment with Trini and Kimberly. I think Trini would have come up with the idea of using the stick as leverage. In the episode High Five, it was Trini who tricked the putty into jumping off the cliffs. We've also seen how well Trini and Kimberly work together, so we have that.
At the end of the day, every time Tommy gets to be the hero, every time Tommy gets to be the one to do everything, everybody else doesn't get the opportunity.
The savior has arrived.
Which makes them look less like a good ranger, and they don't get the time to shine like a well-rounded team should. So let's break it down. He has the most important dialogue in the movie. He's a better fighter than Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, and their only real quality is that they're good fighters. He's smarter than Billy, being the one to figure out everything except for the whole Halley's Comet thing. And finally, he's more charismatic than Kimberly. Kimberly is kind of the person throughout the show who connects with kids and works with kids organizations. But in this movie, Fred, our child character, does not connect with Kimberly. He's Tommy's buddy. And Kimberly's just like Tommy's girlfriend. At the end of the day, Tommy was super, super popular as the Green and White Ranger. But this movie and the show became about Tommy more than showing a well-rounded team. And when Tommy left the show, a lot of people stopped watching because Saban was cultivating Tommy fans. They were not cultivating Power Ranger fans, which I believe is why so many people say, you know, Power Rangers went downhill when Tommy left, or it's never been the same since Tommy was there, because they're not Power Ranger fans, they're Tommy fans.
I agree with everything you said. They weren't cultivating Power Ranger fans, they were cultivating Tommy fans. I don't think it was their intention, but I do think they learned the wrong lesson. Going back to Marvel, when Wolverine's popularity exploded, again, I'm talking about the 80s and the 90s, he was the face of the X-Men. He got his own solo series, he got a lot of spotlight. A lot of other characters got solo series too. They had their moments to shine as well. X-Men didn't suddenly shift into, oh no, the X-Men are in trouble, Wolverine has to save them.
I hope I haven't shattered anybody's childhood. This was just for fun. It wasn't meant to like make you hate the movie or hate the character of Tommy. As I watch it with my kids over and over and over and over
it's a great
again,
perspective.
I still love it every time. Listening to my daughter quote this movie and say, "Welcome to my nightmare." I can't tell you how happy it makes me every time she makes a little reference to Power Rangers. It's the greatest thing to get to share this with my kids.
That's awesome. I enjoyed that video. I encourage you to check it out for yourself. I'm going to put a link in the description. Were you fans of Power Rangers? Did you like the direction it took with Tommy basically overshadowing the team? Leave your comments. Like, share, subscribe. Take it easy.